Welcome back to Making Good Choices Monday. I'm Becky Amio, and if you want to know how I figured out I had broken one of the first of many bones in my body, stay tuned. We're going to get into it right now. I guess I really don't have a good story of how I broke my foot, but it was quite the learning experience. So let's talk about how we lead our horses. Now stay with me here. I know the first thing that comes to your mind, or at least the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about leading horses, is always that visual of a showmanship class, glitzy outfit, the horse is standing right next to them, and they jog really slow, and the horse stays right there by their shoulder. That's the first thing I think of. And then the second thing I think of is the really pushy kind of horses that are walking out in front of you and kind of dragging you along, and they're overly confident, they're too gentle, they don't have any manners, and they're stepping all over you. Historically, I've always been stepped on. I have been stepped on so many times to the point that I started wearing steel-toe boots. I was wearing lace-up steel-toe boots all the time around horses, and I really think that it has to do with my size. My taller colleagues, they generally have never experienced that. The more people that I talk to that are taller than me, they don't have a problem with getting stepped on. They usually have a problem with getting smacked in the face. They've had their nose broken multiple times, bloody noses, concussions from horses smacking them in the face. And I think it's a height thing, truly, that I get stepped on more often than not. So when I first moved to South Dakota, one of the first things that I observed when I came here is the way the horses led. Now, I didn't do a whole lot of halter breaking at first. My boss would usually bring them into me with a light touch halter breaking, which means you could kind of catch them. They'd worn a halter and lead rope. They gave the pressure a little bit, and they had been tied one or two times by like a inner tube. So most of the time, the horses led sometimes 3, 4, 5 feet, 6 feet behind me on a really long lead. And, it was kind of refreshing. I didn't have a horse up in my space, climbing on top of me. As a general rule, 90% of the horses that I was working on, they would rather just get away from you and leave rather than come over top of you like the horses that I experienced in California. And I think that's because the horses that I worked with in California were more pets, and they'd been handled a lot since they were very young. The horses here, again, a light touch halter breaking. They're turned out. They learn how to go and live on their own. And so it's just a totally different experience, and observing it immediately when I came here was just fascinating to me. So, JD, my boyfriend, he likes his colts to lead that 3 or 4 feet or so behind him. He does not like them up in his space, and that's the way he halter breaks. And I have to say, I really appreciate that, because if they do spook, they don't jump on top of me. They don't generally touch me. They usually leave the scene before they're on top of me, and they even brush up against me, let alone step on me, hit me, whatever. Now, I personally feel that I want them up a little bit closer to me, and especially if they're getting pretty darn broke and they're in that broke gelding status, or they are a horse that's been hauled to town quite a bit and they've been used a lot. I feel like they need to work a little bit more like a professional and be right there with you and walk whatever speed you're walking, but I digress. Anyway, what I was doing the day I got my foot broke was I was leading this filly out of the corral, and gentle filly, I'd been riding her for some time, and I was just kind of dragging her out of the pen, and long lead. And I'm going to show you a video clip here of kind of what it looked like, what I was doing. And she decided that she wasn't going, and I was so far out in front of her, and I had the lead so long, I really didn't see what the heck she was doing anyway. And she just decided to turn and go the other direction. And when she turned, by the time I had turned with her to pull her back and get her attention, I was already the whole length of her body, and I was at her butt. Well, she had managed to somehow step on my right foot with her hind left. And I don't know if the sun and the moon and the stars all aligned for all the times that I've been stepped on, for all of the really big horses that have come down on me, with shoes on, without shoes on, you name it, all these different circumstances. She stepped on my right foot, and she must have twisted and pushed off at the same time, and I went down. Like, I had to let go of her, and I went down to the ground. And I couldn't put weight on it. And I just thought it was just just like every other time I've been stepped on. I mean, it hurt. My boss and her daughter were there. They were getting another broke gelding out of the pen. And they came over, and I was just sitting there. I couldn't get up. I couldn't put any weight on it at all. And they were kind of laughing at me, and I was kind of laughing at the situation myself. And, but I could not put any weight on it. And they lifted me up onto their gelding's back, and they led me over to my pickup. I mean, because at this point, game over. I was going home for the day. And I went home, and, I tried to avoid going to the doctor, and not because I dislike doctors. I don't have a problem with doctors. I don't have a problem with going in and getting x-rays or whatever. I didn't have insurance, and I couldn't afford to go to the doctor because I didn't have insurance. Again, remember, broke horse trainer. Nobody is going to give insurance to a horse trainer, no matter what you do. So I went home. I sat there in a chair the rest of the day, and I went to bed that night, and man, it was really sore through the night. And when I got up in the morning, I went to let the dogs out, and that's when it hit me. And I got into the kitchen, almost to the mud room, to turn the dogs loose, and I passed out on the floor in the kitchen. And I was laying there with that hot sweat feeling. I was gonna throw up, really clammy, really pukey feeling. The dogs are looking at me like, we gotta go pee, we gotta go pee, we gotta go out, we wanna get out of here. And I couldn't get up to go let them out, and I ended up crawling over to the door, opening the door to let them out to go potty. But that's kind of when I knew that I needed to go in and get x-rays. And went in, got x-rays, and sure enough, I had broken 2 bones in my foot. And I begged them not to put a cast on, especially since I couldn't afford to be casted. And the boot that I had been wearing, it had a steel shank at least, so it had a lot of support. And it laced up, so I could open up the laces as far as they could go, and I was able to slip my foot into that boot. And it actually gave me a lot of support. And so I went around like that for a couple of weeks, and I rested it for a couple of weeks, but I had to get back to work. And I did go back to work relatively quickly, and probably sooner than I should have. But again, broke horse trainer, didn't have any other form of income, and needed to keep working in order to pay my bills. So I went back to work on a broken foot. Now, if you guys have paid any attention at all to how I ride, it was certainly a learning curve, because I put a lot of weight in my feet instead of my seat, and it did make me sit down in the saddle quite a bit more, and it was probably a good thing. But I eventually got better and stronger, and it healed, and I'm here to talk about it today. But it was just kind of a stupid move. It was something that could have been really avoided. And so I think we need to reevaluate everything that we do every single day. They're all different. They're all going to respond differently, and we have to adapt to them. We can try to do things the same way we've always done it with them. And with some horses, it's going to work that way. Other ones, it's going to be a little bit different. And this was a really good example of how we need to adapt to the things that they need and how they are working for us and our relationship with them. So I hope you guys learned something from this. I hope that helps you get through the rest of your day, gets you through the week, and how you handle your own horses, and a good reminder, you know, don't take the little things for granted, and even if they are really gentle, accidents can happen. So I hope you go about your day, have a great day, make good choices, and have a good rest of your week. Thanks for watching.